Hello and welcome to another Clifton's Clicks, your Cliff Notes to the cosmos. Today we're talking about moving coconuts. You hear that? It's water. You hear this? That's water. We're water. Coconuts are water. We're all water. We're all the same thing. We're all vibes. Game over. See you later. No. But one of the interesting things is when you develop your upgraded operating software to recognize things as vibration, of course you can interact in this physical world. But you also start to see things as vibes and you start to classify things as vibes. And you don't need some sort of scientific background or some authority or something official to recognize what it is that you actually see or sense or feel because it's what you feel. So you're able to start to classify things in terms of vibe. And it's almost like adding a sixth sense or an additional sense into how you operate in the day-to-day environment. You're able to understand why decisions make you feel the way they do. And that's very powerful because when you are in a controlled environment in which people expect you to act and behave in a certain way, the best way to do that is to make sure that the vibe is low. When you don't have energy to think or act or create, then you're just going to do what's told, especially when you're brought into a space in which you simply are trying to exist. Or another way of saying it is you're trying to thrive, and they create this little mousetrap spinning wheel for you to keep going in a circle, and you're not actually getting to where you want. And that brings you back to the narrative, the creative narrative that you wish to leave, your legacy. And even that is a bit of a fallacy because at a certain point we recognize that we are more than just this ego, we are everything. And so the question is, if we are everything, at its core everything is vibration, then by me taking control of my own vibration and mastering it, I am doing my individual body's part, right? Because we can control the vibration of our bodies much more than we control the vibration of other things, greater and greater energy bodies, including companies or groups, nations, movements, etc. And so if we use our body as a compass, our body as the temple to maintain an elevated state, then when we interact on a day-to-day basis, we can know what vibe is going to lower our vibe and therefore avoid, and what vibe is going to maintain or elevate our vibe and be drawn to. And one of the interesting concepts of this is that there are certain actions that may be perceived as low vibe, but are not, right? Like building a building, building a building. Wow, great use of words there, Clifton. Might be perceived as like very like grounded and low vibe, but it's not. It's the state at which you build that building. And if your heart and your truest expression is to build a building, then when you do it with that state of mind, rather than like a greed state or like a forced against your will state, the vibe of that building is going to be high, and the act that you do is going to be high. And that the amazing part is, once you've identified your purpose, your passion, go out and do it. And do it, and you'll be in a high vibe. Simple as that. It'll elevate your vibe to do the thing that you wish to do. And you don't have to rule the world to do that. You just find what it is that puts you in your highest expression, as they say. And what's interesting is a lot of the hippie festival crowd, burner crowd says, like, find your highest expression, right? It's find your highest self. And once you find your highest self, you start to identify how that can be applied to your highest expression. One of the challenges is we are taught a certain slew of crafts that we can do from a lower vibratory state. And so when we try to apply a higher state to the things that we can do, we no longer seem called to do any of them, because none of the tasks are being presented as a high vibe state. And so what's necessary is to be around people who are high vibe state, who are pursuing their passions, and that tends to be a nice substitute is entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs who are passionately pursuing their passions. And being in that vibe, being in that energy is great. And then when you're able to like elevate their vibes even more and create an environment that elevates their vibe, that is the magic. That is the powerful way to really get to that place that we want to go to, because it's from that core that the entrepreneur really is able to not just grab onto their idea and nurture it, but be supported in an environment as well as a community of other high vibe supportive individuals who all have the same vision. That's the beautiful part, is when you work at a co-working space, everyone has a different vision. It's like, oh, hey, we all are living the dream to be successful, but we don't have a unified vision. But when you have an enlightened ecosystem as the vision, as the path for you to all work collectively in your own independent highest expression, that is the mechanism by which we're able to bifurcate and break down the components of what actually goes into an enlightened ecosystem, and being so intentional with our day-to-day work in our community. And so this is a call to action and a recognition to all those who have gone through that journey by whatever means they've gone through, to do that inner work and release those things, to grab and to uh, 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 to grab the highest message, that the highest self vision that they wish to manifest, who have unlocked their speaking their truth and been able to ground their highest self into the highest expression. And then your highest expression is embodied and encapsulated into an entrepreneurial activity, or a or teaming up with an entrepreneurial activity that resonates and is conducted in a way that is from the highest vibratory state to conduct business, that is in an environment that is the highest vibratory state to interact with, and in a community at the highest vibratory state that has the same collective mission. And that's what it is. That's what we're creating. And of course, all of us are going out right now with our independent journeys. Some of us are following paths of gurus, some of us biohacking, some of us, psychedelic usage, and all of these have various drawbacks and benefits. Ultimately, it's what resonates for us. Is the inner work done? Like, is it good to go? And if it's not, it's very clearly present in your day-to-day interactions. And of course, there might be some additional things that need to be cleared out as you go about building the company or supporting the entrepreneurial vision. And that's what the community's for. They can do that 3-realm action that Lifters is talking about and really dive deep, like, hey, you have these things that need to be fixed, right? And not necessarily being pointed at, but you surfacing it by engaging with other multidimensional beings who recognize you as being a multidimensional being. And of course, what you need from that is you need your workplace, you need your company's idea, you need your community, and then you need the actual physical space, which I mentioned before, and then you need your house to be high vibe. And then from that, we're able to essentially support an entire enlightened ecosystem that is in the open infrastructure and open architecture of the matrix. Not necessarily needing to go resort to exclusionary remote places to do these things. Of course, that's an option for like the deep, hey, we're like realigning the Merkaba of the planet kind of stuff. And that's great and necessary, and it'll be an incredible shift, and it's very important for that work to happen. However, for those who are not quite called to that level yet, you can still bring about an enlightened ecosystem or a higher vibratory ecosystem, especially in the commerce space, through this mechanism in the existing architecture that already is established. In a way, it reminds me of like coding when you are updating a server, or you're updating code to a new version. Um, One of the ways you can do it is you can delete it all and then reinstall the new version, or you can do kind of like the check, like check to see if this code has changed. If yes, replace it. If not, go on to the next one. Or in a Microsoft Word, it's like track changes, and like figure out which ones have changed and then change it. And so even my audit software had that same kind of thing. Like, is this new? Is this the master? Put it in. So we, as the matrix, can actually upgrade ourselves. And that's what it is. It's like, do you want to exit the matrix? Yeah, probably. Do you want to upgrade the matrix? And that's one of the interesting things and challenges and potential explorations that never really happened with the trilogy was, okay, knowing that you are in a matrix, why do you decide to exit the matrix rather than stay in the matrix and use it to help everyone collectively exit the matrix at the same time? Maybe it's because it's not sustainable to help them out of the matrix. But what if you eventually were able to create the systems that got people to become self-aware enough to where they could actually exit the matrix? Well, then you have Agent Smith. Oh, hey, I'm Smith, right? Come in and like eradicate things. But play with the matrix. Have fun with the matrix. I guess that's what the Mercutio, no, Maruvingian did, but then of course he was bored and like, psychopathic, blah blah blah, because whatever. But the point is to fund these off the grid, out of the matrix activities, we can very easily integrate specific ways to upgrade the matrix that produces the cash flow, produces the financing, develops and curates the individuals, and gets the collective consciousness elevated and ready to make that huge jump. And then the revelations that occur in these siloed areas can then be utilized and integrated and uploaded into the architecture and DNA of these existing conscious companies that are upgrading the matrix. So it's the similar approach to, do you tear down the healthcare system and just do your own thing in like Costa Rica, or do you actually work with the existing infrastructure? And the answer is you do both. If your ship is sinking, you got to plug the hole and you got to get the water out of it. You got to do the inner work, right? Well, same thing. The ship is sinking, so you got people jumping off the boat and building a new boat, and then you got people working to fix the broken boat. And so what happens is that boat will be fixed, and then the ideas and understanding that comes from the people who jump ship will, if it's done in a collaborative way, be able to synergize, and it'll be like the highest points of the nodes will be able to demonstrate efficacy and applicability of the methods and understandings that they've come through existing in sort of a siloed architecture, be able to apply that into the existing infrastructure. Wow. Okay. Okay. I'll leave you there because that gives me chills. Much love and respect.